All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Dana Carr, the Executive Director of Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center, and I am so excited this afternoon to be talking with the legendary, and I just want to say that again. Oh, yes, the legendary. We're going to give you all your flowers while you are here today. Gordon Chambers. Many of you are familiar with his work, with his songs. He is an American songwriter, record producer. He's written for over 75 people, major players in the game. As you can see, I was just commenting to him about one of my number ones, Brandy, who he has written for, Angie Stone, Beyonce, Jamie Foxx, Aretha Franklin. I mean, the list can go on and on. We could be talking for the next hour just about all of the wonderful people that he's written for. Miss Anita Baker, who we'll talk a little bit about. So we are just so thrilled to have you here, Mr. Chambers. Thank you so much for being here with
My
LTYC
pleasure.
today. To talk about sort of your journey in the arts. So I know that you got started at a very early age,
Right.
writing music, being introduced to music. So just tell us a little bit about that, and if there were people, in your network, in your circle that encouraged you, motivated you. What was that thing that,
Mm.
allowed you to be able to do that at such a young age?
Well, I grew up in a family of music lovers. My parents, to this day, when we get together, like we pump it loud and we go back down, memory lane musically. My parents are not musicians, but my father loves to sing, and my parents could sing along to anything that was on the radio, know every song on the radio. So it became just part of the connection to my family and making memories. So when we moved from the Bronx, my parents, I was born in the Bronx, but my parents moved to the Bronx when I was 7 years old in search of a town with good free music. I mean, with good free school systems.
Hmm.
And Teaneck, New Jersey, where I started studying, in fourth grade, had free music lessons. So my first music lesson was the trumpet, and then I decided that I wanted to study private piano lessons. And so it just became a way of putting something that I loved and organically in my household. And I could always hear melodies. I could always sing in pitch, and I could sing by ear. And starting to study what was coming to me naturally. So when I started playing classical piano, I found that I could actually play songs by ear. And at that time, it was like the 70s, a lot of Lionel Richie, Bob Marley, were some of the early songwriters. But my father also liked to sing for fun. So he would like say, make me play songs that he wanted to sing. So I would learn, he loved this song by Anne Murray called You Needed Me. And he also loved Strangers in the Night by Frank Sinatra. So it became like picking songs out from ear just to be like family entertainment. And once I started to study the construction of composition, I started to meander into wanting to write my own songs. But for me, it was like a way of the culture shock of going from a all black and brown community in the Bronx to this integrated community and sort of those early microaggressions, and not being a very athletic kid. um, I found that music was something that I could do that came naturally to me, and that gave me confidence and gave me a self-expression. And that's where my joy came from, really a public school system that had free lessons. That's why organizations such as yours that fill that gap in communities that don't have free music education speak very dearly to my heart. And I try to always make myself available to be an ambassador for causes like that, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am and what I do today.
That's great. I appreciate that. We're so, again, just so honored to be in your presence and be talking with you this afternoon. And there it's I love to hear you talk about the joy of music,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
that's really what we want to evoke, when we are working with students and
Yeah.
young musicians and artists. You have so many songs, so many different topics that you've written on over the years. Do you have any one or any few that you just feel like are your favorite, your babies, that mean something special to you?
I mean, I love so many of them. I love them all because, first of all, every song that's ever been published, I'm honored that somebody Thought enough of my melody, of all the songwriters in the world writing songs, that somebody, anybody, thought enough of my lyrics to act and my melodies to want to, record it and sing it themselves because it touched their soul. So I'm grateful for each and every song that's ever been recorded. But I became a solo artist because there were songs that I was writing that I found that were my story, as well, not just that I could write for an Aretha Franklin or for Patti LaBelle, but there were other songs that were closer to my experiences. So the songs on my 4 solo albums, which are Introducing Gordon Chambers' Love Stories, Sincere and Surrender, are very dear to me because they're more personal. But
Yes.
in terms of songs that I've written for other people, Brandy, the song One Voice, is really, I say in that song everything that I am. Like, if I was to die today, that song speaks to what I hope my legacy is and what I would be remembered for. Especially the bridge, a song that heals, a melody of reason and freedom with words that can speak for the weak, the hopeful and the strong. I'll sing it for everyone because there is one sky above. There's
Yes.
just one source of love. And if I've got one chance, one choice, let me sing it from my heart, one song, one voice. That's me. That's what I
So powerful.
want to be known for. I'm Jamaican, of Jamaican descent, so the first songs that I really remember in my soul and in my chromosomes were Bob Marley, who also sang, wrote songs that became national anthems of Jamaica, but songs of healing for the whole world because of bringing people together. One love, let's get together and feel all right. His lyrics were the first that touched me so deep,
Yes.
organically. So that song really speaks to my heart very deeply as almost a mantra, as almost a mission statement, so to speak. But listen, you got to have love for what came, Biggie Small said, first things first, and
That's
he
right.
also said, I won't repeat the rest of what he said, but he
I
said,
was
first
going to
things
say,
first,
this is for children.
just first things first, but Biggie, also said it was all a dream, and I used to read Word Up magazines. And
Absolutely.
the song that I wrote for the ladies Brownstone, the group signed to Michael Jackson, the girl group trio, that was the first song that I wrote that I ever heard on the radio,
Wow.
If You Love Me. And so I always have a special love for that song because it was the first song that I ever heard on the radio. And I wrote it on a traffic jam, literally in my car on the traffic jam on my way to work, where I was working at Essence
Wow.
magazine at the time. And the first time I ever heard it on the radio was in the rain, actually. And then when the young hip hop artist Tory Lanez sampled it 4 years ago or so and remixed it and made it into Say It, the first time I ever heard Say It on the radio, which became even actually a bigger hit than If You Love Me, Say It, actually, was actually in the rain and in the cars. And it was the night after my house, the brownstone that I bought 21 years ago had a major, massive fire in 2016. And the day after, when my family came to see me, my nephew had been telling me that the song was on the radio, but I didn't listen to the hip hop charts. But by the time it started to cross over to more of the pop charts, the first time I heard it on the radio, I was with my family in the car in the rain, and that's when I heard it. And even though it was a very cataclysmic and hard and depressing time of my life, just after a fire and being displaced and
Yes.
homeless, really, and didn't know what I was going to do for the next, I God sent me a sign that you're gonna be all right when I heard that song on the radio again. So that song has very special meaning, and that song has been re-recorded in so many languages and films, and it's been sped up, it's been slowed down. There's been versions of it in different languages,
Right.
and then on at an open mic on a Sunday, at any given time, anywhere, you can find some ladies, or brothers, singing that song. It's been on
I've
TikTok,
sung it before, karaoke.
yeah,
Yeah,
TikTok challenges even. So I have a special love for that song especially. Yeah.
that's great. I want to talk a little bit about, and you mentioned this, just sort of the transition between
Hmm.
being a songwriter and then
Hmm.
being an artist, a musical artist. And I mean, you do it all. You sing, you play. What was that transition like? Or I mean, maybe it's ongoing through,
Hmm.
like you said, writing for other people and then writing for yourself and expressing, your own
Yeah,
stories and narratives?
sure. I mean, I've always done it all. I've always done all of the things
Mhm.
um, that I do. It's just at certain times there were more demand or more beck and call or more need for me to do different things.
Yeah.
So I think that early as a child, I focused on being an instrumentalist, being a pianist and a trumpet player. That's what came really first. Then came sort of songwriting.
Mm.
Then in college was where I started to do more singing of my own songs. Because I had friends who would sing, but sometimes I'd show them my original songs and make early demos and they would change them. And my father said, you have to stop giving your songs to them people because they might just change up the melody. And he was like a stickler for melody. And
Uh-huh.
I didn't think that I could sing as well as these other friends of mine, but as a writer, I felt like I would honor the melody in a way that they might not. So singing came sort of last in college, and and when I got out of college, I and started working at Essence and moved to New York City. I had a little band together. I was mostly singing jazz. I wasn't singing as much of my original material. I was singing more like jazz standards and stuff like that and but just hanging out in music and in all kinds of scenes, even did some theater work, some independent film stuff as an actor, just poetry. I wrote poetry and was part of poetry collective, sang with the Black Rock Coalition Orchestra where we were singing rock music. I was just open, like a
You
sponge, just
got it
open
all.
to expressing myself.
Yeah.
I was never really a dancer though, not a modern dancer. I mean, I would dance in the clubs and just to express myself, but I was just expressing myself in very many forms of the arts, which is why I love your organization because you focus on all the arts because you never know which art form is going to stick. But
Right.
what happened was I just happened to be in the right place at the right time where a lot of songwriters that I was meeting and hip hop producers who also dabbled in R&B wanted somebody that could add like more lyrical, sort of beautiful melodies to their harder beats. Like if you look at Brownson's If You Love Me, it has this tougher bottom with this pretty sort of soaring
Yeah.
lyrical, harmonic thing on top. So
Yeah.
it happened to be like I happened to be in the right place and networking with a certain kind of group of people where that was the thing that connected. It's like we're on and popping and we need you and we can take you to the next level. So I went with that. I mean, it could have been, who knows? I didn't know what was going to take. I didn't know if it was going to be an actor. I didn't know if it was going to be what was, and I was working at Essence as a journalist and doing well on that trajectory and on that path. But
Yeah.
this thing to be this lyricist, and as is what where there was a need, and that's the thing that made me as famous as I've become, quote unquote. So it
Yeah.
was being open to many different levels of creativity, and then happened to be in the right place at the right time when a certain skill set was needed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So what would you say, we mentioned, of course, the young people, the
Hmm.
future, the next generation of artists and musicians, singers, actors, all of that.
Hmm.
What piece of advice or pieces of advice would you give to young artists out there who are creating, who want to? I love how you said, you've reached a certain level of success, but
Hmm.
you mentioned TikTok, so they're making videos and things like that every day. What would you say to the next generation of artists?
I mean, I have a lot to say, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for interviewing me to give me a chance to speak.
Of course.
I would say several things. I would say put your all in all into everything that you do. You know, put your all and all into it. Make it the greatest that you can make it. Um, but I would say express yourself fully. But you got to know yourself. Like really, art is about you. Your art is an expression. It's an incantation of you. Who are you?
Right.
What makes you? Just like God put two chromosomes together, and there was the miracle that became you. The
Mhm.
art that flows from you is your miracle. Who are you? How can you say what it is that you feel in a way that is uniquely and organically you saying it?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what's going to make it pop. That's what's going to make when everybody has a favorite singer or a favorite dancer or a favorite whatever you deem as your favorite, whatever connects with your soul, it's that person's uniqueness, their swag, their, personality, their charisma.
Yeah.
So really, art is about expressing yourself. Get to know who you are. Be honest. Be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, that can be really an issue for youth, that especially youth, that have some circumstances that they shouldn't have to have.
Right.
Youth that have to deal with things like police brutality on the news, and racism and white privilege, and just having to deal with all those big issues that are just in our face as the whole world is 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 going through this time when it seems like it has to get worse before it gets better. You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
our youth have so much, beyond whatever's going on at home. Our youth have way more on their hands and on their heads than they should. But that's what being an artist gives you the opportunity to do. But you have to feel. In order to heal, you have to deal
Mm-hmm. I love
and feel.
Yeah.
You can't, an artist cannot be one of these people that's so detached, like, y'all, don't talk to me, or I ain't got nothing to say. That's not an artist.
Right.
Artists have always something to say. I mean, rest in peace, DMX. I mean, this brother who was a hip hop legend loved God,
Yeah.
but he was not ashamed about it. He was proud about it. He thought loving God was fly.
Right.
And that was the thing that he had prayers on his hip hop albums.
Yes, he did.
And that is what his, life is always about creating legacy. But I'm doing this interview, I got to pull my cross out now.
I know that's right. You pulled a cross
Life
out.
is every day that you live, no matter how long your life is. And unfortunately, we as a youth generation, we're seeing some of our young, rest in peace, Dante Wright. We're
Right.
seeing some of our young, go way before their lives are led. But I watched on the interview, and they asked his mother, say, well, who was he? Who was he?
Mm-hmm.
And she spoke about who he was, as a mother, so that he wouldn't just go down in history as this tragedy.
Yes.
So every day that you live on this earth, no matter how long your life is a day that you get to let your little light shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite songs as a child. So as an artist, you get to feel whatever your feelings, your joy, your pain, your glory, the glory of your story is yours. And you get to put it in a dance.
Mm-hmm.
You get to put it in a painting. You get to put it in a song. You get to rock the mic as an MC.
Right.
You get the opportunity and the talent to be able to do that. And not everybody is given that talent by the Most High.
Yeah.
So that is your honor. That's your gift from the Most High. Use it and glorify Him in the way that you tell it, because that's your legacy. And when you're gone, no matter how your time is, your art will live on. Your art tells not just your story, but the story of the time you lived and the story of your people.
Yes.
We know what our ancestors as African Americans in this country, we know how they felt, what they struggled for, what was in their heart by the songs that were created in the field.
Absolutely.
As Black and brown people in America, everything we call popular culture was based in the art that we created in the field.
Yes.
Being an artist is about your freedom. It's about your spiritual liberation, your expression, and we're always striving to be free. So whatever your circumstances, your art gives you a chance of transcendence.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. That was a long answer to the question, but you asked me what I'd say.
Beautiful.
That's what I would say.
It's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I have a young person at home, almost 14, who wants to, go into the arts and acting and singing and dancing. So I'm gonna definitely share, this with her. I think this is all of our young people need to hear it, because what you're saying is just so true. And it just resonates, so beautifully. Tell us before we leave how we can find out more information, we can follow you,
Sure.
And stay tuned with all of the great things that you're doing.
Great, thank you. My website is gordonchambers.com, and GORDONCHAMBERS. I'm on Facebook, but I'm most active on Instagram. So it's all Gordon Chambers, GORGON Chambers.com. And I also give private vocal coaching lessons. So if anybody wants to reach out to me directly for a vocal coaching lesson, they can email me at gordon@gordonchambers.com. So at some
Awesome.
point, we should explore my doing some of that work with your program. We need to explore how I can do that, because I love working with singers and even non-singers to just express and open up their hearts. So Gordon Chambers,
Absolutely.
yes, that's where I am. I'm the Gordon Chambers man, the
That
Gordon Chambers brand, and the Gordon Chambers band.
and those Gordon Chambers brand.
Yes,
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us. Again, we're so honored, so grateful for your, just catalog of work. Even as I was reading more about you and just all of, again, the many things that you've done over your lifetime and in your work, you just have so much to be proud of. And we're just thankful to be able to share with you today. And definitely we will talk more about how we can connect you with some of our youth in our programs here in Maryland and in DC.
thank you very much. I was also recently during the pandemic a couple of weeks ago given a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it's now posted on YouTube. And I'm really proud of this. A bunch of New York singers got together and did a whole concert of my catalog of music.
Oh,
Um, Not all of it, obviously, but they did this tribute, and the link is in my Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, Gordon Chambers, the link, you can click the link right there. It's on YouTube, and that just gave my heart, just to be still 51, but given, and I have a lot more living to do. My grandfather lived to be 102, so if I'm going to follow him, I'm only half
yes,
alive.
yeah, exactly.
But to get that award at the pandemic really did my heart so much joy. And they say the song says, if my what does the song say? If my live is my living in vain? No, of course not. It's
Yep.
not, or if I can help somebody, then my living will not be in vain. That's what I meant to say. Cool.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Awesome. Well, please check that out. I'm definitely going to go to Instagram because I want to
Yep.
hear all of these amazing songs that we've talked about today and some of the
Right.
ones that we didn't get a chance to talk about. So thank you
Yes.
again so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Blessings.
Thank you.